Hey everybody, RJ Anderson. In this video, I want to go over the lenses that I chose out of, I think I had what, 12 lenses, I believe, if I remember correctly. And out of all those lenses, I basically have narrowed it down to these lenses. I'm not someone who likes to have a lot of gear on hand. I'm just that way. And I never like to have, like, let's say, a lens at home because I didn't have space for it and wish I would have brought it. I'm weird like that. I like just minimal gear. And so out of those 12 lenses, I narrowed them down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the one I'm filming on 6. So let's go over those lenses and maybe why I chose those. Okay, so first of all, we are talking about this Fujifilm X-T3. I got 2 of them now. I just did a video like seconds ago on why I got rid of my Sony A7 III for this. So go check that video out. But let's just start in the lenses. The first lens, we're going to start with the widest down to the more telephoto ones. And if you don't know my type of work, it is I do videos of people and I do photography of people, whether it's a magazine doing photos, whether it's product photography, whether it's doing a commercial for TV or a short film. People are always involved. Weddings, whatever it is, there's always people involved. So more of a portraity type photographer, right? So keep that in mind because your lens choices, if you're a bird photographer, will be probably different than mine. So first, the lens that we are filming on now, I love the wide angle lens that I'm getting. And we are filming this on the what is this? I always want to think of the full frame equipment. This is the 16 millimeter f 1.4. Now all these are Fujinon lenses, so this is the 16 millimeter f 1.4. The cool thing about this lens is it is just like, wow. All these lenses, by the way, they're made out of like all metal. I never realized how amazing Fuji lenses are. I feel like nobody's ever really expressed how good they are compared to a lot of the other manufacturers that make them out of plastic and that rattle and jiggle and all that stuff. These things are all metal. Some of them I feel like some of them might have a plastic base on it, maybe. That might be just this one, but all these, maybe the kit lenses are plastic, but you kind of feel the coldness to your face, and it feels like it's plastic there, but all these primes are like just metal, and they're amazing. They feel great. Everything about them amazing. They're super sharp. And the 16 to 1.4, now why did I choose that over the f2? Or why did I choose, okay, first of all of these primes are the f1.4 versions, not the f2 versions. The only reason that I felt with the f2 is you get weather sealing, which I'm not too big of it's not that important to me. If these are all weather sealed, oh, great, but if they're not, it's okay. That's not a selling point for me. But I feel like since I'm coming from the Sony A7 III, which is a low light beast, I just feel like I need to give my APS-C sensor in my Fuji as much light as possible to keep me in the quality range, and that's why I chose the f1.4. Now, they are a little loud, or not loud. I would say the f2s were quieter, but it doesn't bother me. They're not like, these things aren't going like, beep, beep, beep. They're not making that much noise. You got to really, I could be behind someone in a wedding and be focusing and not worried that they're going to be like, whoa, what is that? But they are a little louder than the f2 versions. They're a little bigger than the f2 versions, and they focus a little slower than the f2. But really, side by side, for the type of shooting I do, it wasn't enough to go to an f2. I'd rather stick with f1.4 to give me the best light possible and the best background blur and all that stuff that if I need that for a shot. So that 16 millimeter f1.4 is an amazing lens. It has a focus clutch on it, so you pull it out to manual focus or push it in to keep it into autofocus. Like I said, it's made out of metal. It's super sharp. The close focus distance is amazing. Now, if you have the Sony Tamron, the Sony A7 III, and I use the Tamron, 28 to 75 millimeter. The one thing I really loved about that lens was when you zoom wide to 28 millimeters, the focus distance was like this close. It was so close. Well, this one even beats that, where it's like literally the focus distance is probably that close. I wish I could demonstrate it here, but it's on there. But it's like that close. That's like amazing. And it's 24 millimeter, not 28 like the Tamron, so I'm getting a wider field of view, but yet the focus distance is so close. So this lens is like, I mean, at f1.4, you can do interior shots, you can do those low shots that I like to do. That's why I like the flippy screens on these. I can get some low, cool shots of things, and the lens is just absolutely amazing. So that's the wide angle lens that I chose, and for me, it's like a no-brainer. If you have a Fuji and you want a wide lens, that is the lens. Focus is fast. I think this might be one of their newer ones. I'm not sure, but it's a great lens. So the next one would be this one here. This one is the 50. I always want to say the equivalent 35 f1.4. So that's a 56 millimeter, a 50 millimeter equivalent. And just like that one, it's super fast. It's not super fast. It's super sharp. It's durable. I find the focusing fine on all these. Everything feels good about it. What can I say? And now I'm going to say equivalents here. That's a 24 millimeter equivalent, and this is a 50 millimeter equivalent. So we are skipping the 35 millimeter equivalent, and I'll get to that in a second. So Fujinon 35 millimeter f1.4, it's amazing, it's sharp. I could put this on my camera and shoot almost like 90% of my photography. And if you ever watch some of my Sony videos, I did. On the Sony cameras, I would put a 50 millimeter on there, and I did like almost full photo shoots with that. And this is annoying me here. And it was just, that one lens can do everything. So it's an amazing lens to have. When it gets artistic-y, you know, these other ones are better in the wide one, but do-it-all lens, that's it. The next one is, everybody heard about this one. This is the 56 millimeter f1.2. Again, all metal, it feels great. I love the size of these. They're not too dinky. They feel perfect on the X-T3. And this one's super sharp. It's f1.2. What can I say? 85 millimeter. This is going to be the equivalent with the field of view and the blurry background and all that stuff of like the Sony 85 millimeter f1.8 with the crop factor and all that. You're going to get that's what I felt like with this. When I had this on there, I felt like I had my Sony A7 III with the 85 millimeter f1.8. Beautiful blurry backgrounds. But because this is an f1.2, it lets in even more light. So you're kind of making up for that, higher ISO performance on that A7 III. So that's why I got this. And this is a cool lens just to put on and run around. If I don't have enough space, that's when I would pull out this one. And if I don't have enough space, I'll tell you about the other lens that I have, and then it goes all the way back to the 24. So the next one up is this. Now, this one is the 60 millimeter f2.4 macro lens. Now, these were given to me by somebody actually, and this was one of them. And this isn't one I use, I actually do use this a lot. I use this all the time for my product photography. This is not a true macro lens. I don't know why they call it that. It's not like you can get really close to things. I mean, it's probably like, it's probably like that, maybe somewhere around there. So it's not super close, but since it's 60 millimeters, you're getting fairly close. What I found, and why I didn't go with the 90 millimeter or the 85 millimeter, whatever that is, macro lens, is because I don't need to do macro shots. I just need to shoot, wedding rings. I do a lot of ring shots for a company, for their website and all that, and I just need it for that. So this is the perfect distance for a wedding ring and stuff like that. So if you're doing weddings and you need ring shots, this one's fine. And what I like about this over the 90 and the 80s, it's just small. It's really small, but it's kind of wacky. I mean, sometimes I get aperture weirdness things. I can't even explain it. Just like glitchy stuff. Like I have to undo it and snap it back. And I've heard people having issues with this, but it was free. It was given to me, and it's really all I need in the situations that I use this. Just those type of ring shots and product shots, it does great. I usually stop down, of course, and do some focus stacking with this, and it works great. The focus is slow, but again, product photography, I got time and I've got the light and I've got all that stuff. So that's what I use for my product photography, but I don't think I would use this for probably anything else. It's just, that's what I use it for. Now, the next lens is, I told you I didn't have a 35 millimeter equivalent, which would be that 23 millimeter lens, and that's where I use the kit lens. Now, you probably heard that the kit lens, it's metal, it feels great. I don't know if The base of this might be plastic on these kit lenses, but everything else feels metal. This is super sharp, and the cool thing about this is when you're wide open, it's an f2. When you're zoomed out, what is this? 16, 18 millimeters, so that's a 27-ish millimeters. It's at f2.8, which isn't that bad. I mean, if you need a wide lens for gimbal work, this is the only lens out of these that have image stabilization. The camera does not. So if there's those shots where I need a image stabilized lens, this is the one that I would use. And those missing focal lengths in between all these, this is the lens I would use. Because I don't typically use 35 millimeter, it's just not my cup of tea. If the 24 is too wide and the 50 is too long and I can't get in there, then I'd be happy to get this out, because a lot of the photo shoots I do is for like a model wearing rings and clothing, and I need to get her completely in focus, so I'm shooting at f5.6 or more anyways. So this lens would fit right in. Even if you're zoomed all the way out to 55 millimeters, it's at an f4. So it's not really, it's pretty good. I mean, good little walk around lens, if you will. But that's my incremental lens for those times where I just can't get that right focal length or I need image stabilization. So as I'm editing my video, the other thing I wanted to talk about is that this lens, the kit lens, the time that I were using the 40 millimeter equivalent with my Panasonic lenses, or 35 millimeter equivalent with the Sony cameras or whatever, I would mainly use those for running around the reception at weddings. But when I'm doing that, I have a flash on my camera, or I'll have an assistant. Either way, it's usually low light situations, and I have flash somewhere during the reception, and that's where I use 35 millimeter most. So by using this kit lens, I can zoom in wherever I want, but that leaves that gap that I don't have the 35 millimeter prime lens. I could shoot this at 35 millimeters, which is going to give me an f3 something or whatever, and I have a flash. So for low light situations, it's really, it doesn't affect me that much, and that's why I don't have a 35 millimeter prime. The kit lens would be another lens, or would be the lens that I would use for fashion show catwalks, because the ones that, it depends on where you're at. Now, of course, I've got a whole array of lenses that you're seeing here that will cover for pretty much anything, but my go-to lens for the runway or catwalk or whatever you want to call it would probably be this kit lens, because the last one I did, what I do is I usually, if I have the opportunity to get into the position where I want to get in, I usually want to shoot at least a 50 millimeter because of the compression and all that. And so that will allow me to zoom a little longer and to go a little wider with a zoom lens that I have. So I situate myself at about 50 millimeters-ish, full frame equivalent. That way I can zoom out to get a cool shot of the people sitting watching the runway as the model's there. Also zoom in to where she's walking down the runway, but at around that 56 or 50, well, I say 56, 50 millimeter is where they usually, or where I'm set up to where they stop and they do their pose, and where we either set up the flash or there's lighting there, with on set or whatever. So this lens would be perfect for that. And last time I did my shoot, someone said, why did I use the 24-105 f4 Sony lens with the Sony a7 III? It's because I was actually shooting at f8 and shooting at really high shutter speeds, because you want to get that model completely in focus, because a lot of people just have this idea that, oh, you got to shoot wide open all the time. What about low light? Well, in situations like that, professionals have to shoot at f5.6, f8 sometimes if they want to get them in focus and really crank that shutter speed up so that there's no motion blur when they're walking. And a lot of times, if you've ever seen a runway, the models will walk fast, they'll spin around, and you don't want any motion blur on the model. So this lens, I think, would be perfect for that, because it's super sharp and it gives me exactly that focal length that I like to use during runway. So thought I'd add that in there. Now, the next one is this one here. Now, I explained why I didn't keep the f2 variant of the prime lenses, because I feel like I need that f1.4. And I did have the 50, what is that one? The 50 to 230 or something. That's a focal length I just don't use. It didn't have it felt like one of the cheaper of the Fuji lenses. I just had no need for that telephoto type lens, and it was an f5.6 once you zoomed all the way in, or f6 point something, I don't remember, but wasn't too handy. But the other lens that I really loved, and that was the 50 to 140 f2.8. That lens is amazing. The image stabilization is amazing. It contrasty, sharp, micro contrast, beautiful lens, but it literally was like this size, but much bigger and much heavier. And the problem with that was, let me grab where's my bag at? The issue with that lens was I like minimalistic gear, and I fell in love with these Peak Design 10-liter bags because with my Micro Four Thirds and even my Sony A7 III with those smaller primes, everything fit in here with the Tamron 28 to 75. But once I got the Fuji system and I got that big 50 to 140, it was really large, and in order for me to fit it in here, it would take up this whole side pocket here, like this one would, but I would have to sacrifice some other lenses to take with me. Or if I had the lens on the camera, I couldn't put it in here. I'd have to put it sideways and sacrificing even more space. And I don't like to, sacrifice one of the lenses that I use a lot of. And I also had to sacrifice, let's say, taking a flash with me or something. So the lens was beautiful, but it was just bigger than I needed. If I did predominantly sports photography indoors, it would be a must-have lens, but I don't. So what I did to replace that one is this here, which is the 55 to 200 millimeter. And this is no slouch, man. This image stabilization on here, so I have two image stabilized lens that go from 27-ish to 300-ish with no stoppage, from 27 to 300. So I've got every focal length I need in just these two lenses, image stabilized from 27 to 300. So I feel like these were kind of a no-brainer. The main reason why I got this was there's times where I want that compression. I don't feel that doing a portrait shot with 85 millimeter is quite long enough. And when I mean portraits, I'm talking about like maybe here and up. You just, check out a video I did. I asked 300 people what shot of this one model looked best. And what I did was I took go check out the video, but there were, I don't know, like 8 shots, maybe even 10 shots with different focal lengths. And I didn't tell anybody about that. I just scrambled them up from, it was like a 9 millimeter to a 300 millimeter. I scrambled them up and I just told people, and I numbered them. I said, what number do you like best? And it was like a 97% of the people chose, I think it was a 230 millimeter focal length that they liked for that portrait shot. And I know there's a lot of variance in depending on the model and stuff like that, but predominantly we know a lot of people who like to use 85, 105, 135, and then a 200 millimeter. And those 300 people liked that 200 millimeter effect that it had on the model's face. So that's why I got this one instead of that really big, expensive, heavy lens that I don't use all the time. There's no compromise for this. This one will fit in my bag with all these, well, maybe not this one. I never take the 60 millimeter with me when I do photo shoots unless I know that I'm going to do a ring shot or something, but this usually goes with me to my other jobs where I'm shooting in a light box or something for product photography. So I almost never take that with me like that. But with these lenses here and that 24 and this, it fits all in that Peak Design 10-liter bag. And just like I said, that's about the size of that 50 to 140. Well, this is half that size and maybe half the weight and way less price and all that stuff. Still got image stabilized. So that is the one I use for compression. Me and my wife was in New York. We did a photo shoot over there, and I did want to use this on 2 shots that I needed that compression. There was some nice rocks. I'll show the photo here, and she was sitting on the rocks. None of these other lenses brought that background blossom, that pink blossom bush close to her, except this one. And actually, when I zoomed in at 200, it was a little too much for where I was standing and all that. So I actually had to pull it back even a little bit. But I wouldn't have got that shot without this. There's also another photo that I did, and I actually took this doing the same way. As you could see those buildings way out in the distance there. I took this same shot in the winter. You can see, maybe I'll show you the winter one on the left and the spring one on the right. The one on the left was at 200-ish millimeters as well, but that was micro four thirds. This is full frames equivalent. And this one I think was at 135 or something like that as well. And I couldn't bring those without this either. So this lens is a must-have for me to get that compression and to do portraitures or headshots. If I need to do headshots, I'm going to probably zoom out to 200 if I have the space, if not 135, because it's going to look better at a headshot. So if I'm in studio, and this still goes to like what? Where does it say that at? A 4.8. So that's not even like a f5.6 or an f6.1. It's still at f4.8, zoomed all the way out like that. So pretty cool. So that's about it for my lenses, and these are the lenses that I'm using. If you don't have a Fuji camera or you're thinking about it and weary about the lenses, these are spectacular. And I don't know if I should go into the autofocus. Let me do another video on autofocus, continuous autofocus with these lenses, because this has probably gone too long. So I knew there was something I was missing. Although these lenses are absolutely amazing in their build quality, their sharpness, their micro contrast, and everything else, their lens hoods are absolute garbage. I mean, they are the worst lens hoods on any even cheapest lens I've ever had. I don't have one here there in my bag because I was working today, but basically, especially the 56 f1.2, when you put that lens hood on, it rocks back and forth, it jiggles. It's made out of all of them are made out of these like really like the plastic's like really brittle, like a brittle plastic, so much so that the inner tabs that when it's supposed to like friction click into the lens, I mean, if I pushed on that or put my fingernail there, I could literally just like break it like so easy. And man, I was a little disappointed in that. And I've heard people talk about lens hoods and other lens reviews, not necessarily Fuji, just talk about the lens hood. I'm like, big deal, it's a stupid lens hood, but they're really not that great. They do make some Fuji makes some, I think, aftermarket ones, but branded by them. I don't know, or extra accessory ones. I don't know what you call it, but they're actually pretty good. The one lens hood that was really good was the 35 millimeter. Is it the 35? No. I always get the 35 millimeter f1.4. There was a 50 millimeter equivalent. That one actually comes with a cool square metal lens hood. That one snaps on real good. So I don't know why they just didn't keep that through all their lens lineup, but man, they're just really crappy, at least on the lenses that I just mentioned. I didn't have all Fuji lenses. So for me, I'll probably end up getting the square ones for my other lenses. So yeah, now the 16 millimeter f1.4 that I'm filming this on, it was decent. It kind of snapped in okay. Also, I have it over there, but not the lens hood. For the kit lens, it felt okay, but some of them were just really awkward and kind of crappy. So keep that in mind. I just wanted to make sure I say that. So if you do get these lenses and hear me say how amazing they are, the lens hoods aren't the best. So stay tuned to that. I'll probably stop this and record that one right away too. Hence, you'll see the same shirt. So if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll talk to you next time. Oh, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up before you head on out. Right there, the subscribe button. No, right there. Thanks, guys. See ya.